That's Frank Road.
Okay.
Is there ever a mill?
Still see it.
Yeah, there was, yeah, here, that's, yes. We're on the spring, at the mill.
Did you see?
I did, like,
I'm in Land Park.
all right.
Not so far.
Okay, all right, let's get started. With that, can you call the roll, please?
Mari Davis,
Here.
Andrea,
Here.
Robert Ducka,
Here.
Andrew Fackler,
Here.
Alex Foster,
Here.
Greg Henley,
Here.
Jerry Laporte,
Here.
Joan Lawrence. Here. Katie Myers,
Here.
Mark Turnbull,
Here.
Andy Winchell, and Dick Woodruff.
Here.
At four.
Okay. Welcome to the November 19th, 2025 Historical Affairs and Landmark Review Board meeting. Effective July 1st, 2024, updated state legislation continues to require certain county board, including the HALRB, to have an in-person forum to conduct monthly business. HALRB hearings are provided in a hybrid environment, both in person and online. Members of the public may attend and participate either virtually or in person. For members of the board joining us virtually this evening, please join us via the Microsoft link. Your device muted. But ensure your video is turned on. For members of the public joining us, today's meeting is available to stream from the county website via Microsoft Teams link. There is also a dial-in phone option for those who use it. Please keep your device muted and video turned off until you're called on to speak. For public speakers who have pre-registered, please wait until you are called on to speak. For those who have not pre-registered, requests for public speaking can still be submitted. Staff will do their best to accommodate those requests. However, we cannot guarantee that they will be met. Speaker slips are available at the front of the room for in-person speakers who have not pre-registered. Public comment is only allowed for items advertised on the HLRB agenda. The ability to sign up to speak will no longer be available after the HLRB chair has stated that public testimony is included. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the signed public testimony period. The meeting chat should not be used for discussion, written comments, questions about agenda items, or requests for more information. You may use the chat for technical assistance. All voting will be done by a call of the roll. Lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the website and the county's commission meeting YouTube page. Avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to Freedom of Information Act requirements. Okay, we'll move on to approving the October 2025 minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments on those? Motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the October 2025 minutes.
Second.
Please respond yes if you approve the October minutes. Mari Davis,
Yes.
Andrea,
Yes.
Robert Ducka,
Yes.
Andrew Fackler,
Yes.
Alex Foster. Yes. Greg Henley,
Yes.
Jerry Laporte,
Yes.
Joan Lawrence,
Yes.
Katie Myers,
Yes.
Mark Turnbull,
Yes.
and Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on to the discussion agenda.
All right. All right, so this is for certificate of appropriateness 2508 in Maywood at 2320 North Edgewood Street. So the pre-1935 house at 2320 North Edgewood Street is contributing to the Maywood National Register Historic District. Over the years, these projects have been reviewed and approved by HPP staff and the HALRB for the house. Most recently, HPP staff approved the replacement of the existing AC unit with a new one of a different size in September of 2021. The applicant is proposing to install a ChargePoint HomeFlex Level 2 EV charger, as well as a 240V NEMA 14-05R outlet on the south elevation of the house. The outlet would be next to the EV charger and would be used as a plug for the EV charger. Both the charger and the outlet would be on the side of the house that is adjacent to the driveway and installed near an existing telco box, which is located behind a protruding bay window. The Design Review Committee, or DRC, considered this application at their November meeting. They had no concerns or questions, and they placed the item on the consent agenda. After the meeting, the applicant had further conversations with their electrician and discovered the need for an involving outlet for the EV charger as well. They had to amend their project to include that outlet, and since that hadn't been part of the discussion at the DRC, staff placed the project on the discussion agenda for tonight's meeting. HPP staff recommend approval of the subject application as submitted. The HALRB has previously approved EV chargers in Maywood in the past. Given the addition over time of electrical panels, gas meters, and other utility equipment in the district, the installation of such a charger has proven compatible with today's architectural character of the Maywood LHD. The proposed EV charger and outlet would not be largely visible from the public right-of-way, given its positioning behind the bay window. Furthermore, they would be located near other existing electrical equipment. Although the installation of both would have an impact on the existing siding, the impact would be minor and could be easily repaired if ever removed in the future. This complies with standard number 10 of the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation. It's for those reasons that staff find the proposed installation is appropriate and also complies with 7 of the guidelines. That concludes staff's report, but I will scroll through the application and point out a few things. So this is the proposed location for both the EV charger and the outlet. This is, oh, it's rather small, but this is the bay window and it would be located behind. You can see it on the site plan. This is the main street. This is what the EV charger would look like. And that is what the outlet would look like.
Sarah or Adrian here.
They are there. Virtual, yeah.
Hi, would you like to share anything else about the project?
No, I think that pretty well captures it. I think we met with the electrician after the DRC met, and the electrician advises that for a hardwired version, we'd have to put a disconnect box outside, similar to the AC, or we could go back to use a plug-in and we would still have a box. So inevitably, we were forced to put something in addition than the actual charger on the wall. So we opted to add this outlet to the application. I think that covers it. I obviously was unfamiliar with the whole EV charging. This is our first EV, and pretty excited to get with reduced emissions and those kinds of things. But also wanted to really thank Michael for helping us navigate this as first-time EV owners. Thank you.
Thank you. And does anyone from the DRC want to share?
We had no concerns. So.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments or questions, concerns? Well, then, I move that the HALRB approve COA 25-08 for the EV charger at Edgewood Street in the Maywood Local Historic District. The EV charger installation complies with the standards set forth in the Maywood Design Guidelines and the Secretary of the Interior Standards, and is visually unobtrusive.
I second that.
Call the roll.
All right, please respond yes if you approve the motion. Omari Davis,
Yes.
Ann Dreyer,
Yes.
Robert Dudko,
Yes.
Andrew Fackler,
Yes.
Alex Foster,
Yes.
Ray Henley,
Yes.
Jerry Laporte,
Yes.
Joan Lawrence,
Yes.
Katie Myers,
Yes.
Mark Turnbull,
Yes.
and Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
Thank you. Your project was approved. I think Michael will be in touch.
Yep, I'll send you your approval paperwork tomorrow.
Great. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.
on to the Elizabeth and Edmund Campbell Historic Marker relocation in Shirlington.
We have a brief staff presentation. This one. All right, so in 2009, the county created and installed 2 historic markers dedicated to Elizabeth and Edmund Campbell in the plaza outside of the Shirlington Library. The Campbells were county leaders and they dedicated themselves to improving Arlington's public school system. Edmund was a lawyer and Elizabeth served on the school board in the 1960s. They were both instrumental in the desegregation of Arlington schools, and they also fought against school closures in defiance of Senator Harry Byrd. They were also involved in a lot of cases that overturned a Virginia law that prohibited racially integrated seating in public places. So they were really movers and shakers in that era of history. So anyways, Campbell Avenue in Shirlington is named in honor of them, and these markers were placed in their memory as well. The county-owned historic markers dedicated to them were updated and reinstalled by our office in 2023. So you all may recall that coming forward around that time. So tonight, we're bringing forward a request from the owners of Shirlington Retail Complex to relocate the historic markers and to change their orientation. Currently, a proposal for streetscape and landscape improvements to the areas along Campbell Avenue is being considered as part of a site plan amendment. The improvements would include new seating, expanded planting areas, protection of existing trees, and other public improvements. So to allow for these improvements, the applicant is proposing to relocate the historic markers from their existing location in the plaza to a more centralized location in the plaza, not far from their current location. They are also proposing to change the orientation of the markers from landscape to portrait. The applicant would cover the cost of the redesign and reinstallation of the markers, but the county would retain ownership and maintenance of them after their reinstallation. The applicant is seeking the approval from the HALRB tonight for just the relocation and change in orientation. They will return to a future meeting with the updated design of the marker for the HALRB to review, but staff have requested that the design and content of the existing markers remain unchanged. However, because of the change in the layout, it's likely that there's going to have to be a shift in some of the design elements to allow for the portrait orientation. So staff support the project. We've been working with the applicant to get it to this point. The updated markers would not be relocated that far from their current location. Their placement in that part of the plaza will allow for continued interaction with the markers. They are currently proposed to have a double-sided design, which would provide a unique opportunity for the potential translation of the markers in a different language. That detail hasn't been finalized quite yet, but it is an idea that's been discussed with the applicant. And that is something that we as a program have been trying to incorporate more in our historic markers. So we're excited about that possibility. And that pretty much concludes staff's presentation on the report. We do have Jeff Sharp here on the call. He's the applicant requesting this. So he can share his thoughts with the HALRB, but I did want to flip through the drawings for you all just to show you. So these are the existing markers in their current location. This is another photograph that kind of shows from Campbell Avenue looking towards the library. The markers are over here in red. They would be relocated more in this area over here. This is a site plan that shows in red where the markers are currently located and then where they would be relocated. The applicant has taken into account accessibility on all sides of the marker. So there's a small note there about that, not that you can see it on the screen. And then this is a rendering that shows, again, their proposed location and that they would be facing each other on either side, double-sided, facing out towards Campbell Avenue. So with that concludes staff presentation, but I know Jeff.
Okay. Jeff, do you want to add anything? Or?
Sure, just very quickly. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for hearing our application this evening. Just a couple points of context without wanting to take too much of your time. So Federal Realty's owned the bulk of Shirlington since 1995. And we've been through a couple waves of development there, most recently right before these markers were installed in the aughts. We've been intending to do a large renovation at Shirlington at the Village for about 5 years now. We've been through a special GLUP study plus with the county. We've done a PDSP amendment. We've done a minor site plan amendment. We're in the middle of a civil engineering plan and a final landscape plan and MOT approval. And we are anxious to start work in January on a $15 million renovation of the property. The reason for relocating them is really twofold, one or perhaps threefold. One is that in their current location, they're kind of right in the way of a desire line for pedestrian circulation. Two, we think they'll have a slightly better alignment with Campbell Avenue. After all, Campbell's named after the Campbells, right? So you'll be able to look at the signs and look down the street. And third, when this plaza was installed in the aughts, it was before the current regulations around tree preservation and soil volume were on the books in Arlington County. As we're doing this large renovation, we're replacing many of the dead and dying trees. We're doing much larger soil planting pits. And the existing signs today would be right in the middle of one of the soil cells for the new trees that we're installing that we've been collaborating with urban forestry about. So for those three reasons, we want to move them about 20 feet to the north. And that's the summer. Happy to take any questions.
And
Could he explain why he's changing the orientation of from landscape to portrait?
Jeff, did you hear that question? Okay.
I did. Again, it's so as we think about, some of our partners at Shirlington, including Signature Theater and the library, we know that plaza, it has a couple different characters, right? Like during the week on a Tuesday lunchtime, there aren't a ton of people out there. It's used for, casual seating, maybe in nice weather, having a bite to eat or a cup of coffee. But when there's a popular show at Signature Theater, there can be more than 200 people queued up in the plaza for the will call window to get tickets. And so much of what we're trying to do is call it decluttering, making more space for pedestrian circulation, taking things out, making things more efficient space-wise. So the intent from going from a landscape orientation in kind of a table format that takes up a lot of space to more of a portrait orientation on more of a post format is just about saving space.
And Nan or Jerry, I know you guys are on our marker subcommittee. Do you guys think?
Yeah, I remember, it's interesting that the gentleman talked about decluttering, because I remember when we approved these markers, and I think we actually talked about cluttering at the time, but we talked about intentional cluttering, because, we're not just a bunch of history geeks that don't know about design. And they were, this was a very prominent couple, both locally and nationally. Both of them were national figures in their own right. And when we were talking about putting these historically, we talked about doing one marker, and then people said, no, each of these people are individually important. Each one deserves their own marker. And we decided to put them where they are now, mainly, and put them together because they were a couple, okay? So if you put them away from each other, like is proposed, you sort of don't get the coupling. And also, we talked about, these are tabletop markers. I think we're really talking about changing from tabletop to upright rather than portrait to landscape. That's now sort of, and I think these may have been the first, among the first tabletop markers that we approved on the HLRB. And the staff at the time was very much in favor of tabletop markers because of it gives you additional flexibility, I guess. There's pros and cons, okay? But one of the ideas was to put them next to each other so people would get the idea that they're a couple. And this isn't a very good analogy, almost like gravestones, they were together. And the orientation that they're proposing now would sort of loop, and also say is that these directly face the sign where Campbell Avenue is. There's actually, it's Campbell Avenue and Campbell Avenue. There's two signs, because Campbell Avenue comes off of what's the Arlington Road, is it? And then it comes in the horseshoe. So there's actually
4 Mile Run. It's not 4 Mile.
But anyway, the sign says it's the corner of Campbell Avenue and Campbell Avenue, but really the street just curves. Okay, and then I think the sign is just there in case people think there's actually two streets there, where there's actually only one that comes around and does the horseshoe thing. But so I'm concerned that by losing the orientation of the couples next to each other and facing the Campbell Avenue signs, we're going to lose the intention of the HLRB when it approved this. And also another thing we talked about is, the staff at the time thought that the tabletop markers were better because in pedestrian areas, people tend to read them more than upright markers. And they do clutter things up, because when people come out of Signature Theater, they're right there, and a lot of people read them. Okay, whereas if they're upright markers, that they so sort of they are sort of in the way, but that I think was intentional. And so the decluttering and getting them out of the way, to me, sort of diminishes the importance that we thought these people had to Arlington. And they're almost like we have to get rid of them to increase the traffic flow. And we actually put them there to sort of decrease the traffic flow and have people slow down and think about this. So those are concerns that I have.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't living in Arlington or on the board at the time that all this history happened, so I don't have that. But I will say, as someone who is often going to Signature Theater, there is a lot going on in that plaza. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad plan. I can't tell exactly how many feet apart the proposed new locations is. Maybe you can tell us, is that about 10 feet or? I
No,
can't.
it's more than that, it's drawn. But I think we would certainly be open, if that were one of the comments from the board, to having them closer together. I don't think we would have a problem with that.
Yeah, but to build on Jerry's point about relating them to each other, I wonder, when they come back for design, maybe it would be possible to add a little note saying, the other Campbell is right behind you, or something like, to make clear that there are two.
And I think we actually had a discussion about, the markers say something about Campbell Avenue. Campbell Avenue is named after these people. And
yeah,
by not having them facing the Campbell, and I think the remark was made, well, shouldn't we tell people that this is the Campbell Avenue? We decided not to, because people would be able to figure it out, because the sign is right in front of them. So you sort of lose that.
I think it is on the marker.
Sorry.
It is on the marker, the note about Campbell Avenue being named after that.
Yeah, but it doesn't say the street, Campbell Avenue to the street in front of you. Okay.
Okay.
People have to know that they're standing on Campbell Avenue to understand what the marker says. I mean, I think both of them say that. Campbell Avenue is named after the Campbells, but there was a concern. There was a concern that we should have put something in, like, comma, the street, Campbell Avenue, comma, the street in front of you, comma. And it was decided, no, we didn't do that, because the sign was right there and people would be able to figure it out. We could change that if we decide to. I mean, they're going to be redone anyway, so we could change the wording. That's easy enough to do.
Yeah, couldn't they just be, instead of being, apart from each other, couldn't they just be side by side, so that you still get the idea that these two people are related, but they could be upright in orientation, so that you have less of an issue with pedestrian travel? I mean, it seems like there's something in between these two proposals.
Is that something you guys are open to, Jeff?
I think we're happy to explore orientation, position. We just kind of want to scooch them a tiny bit from where they are right now. That's our main priority.
I guess it's two questions. I do like the vertical orientation because I realize it's less of an impediment, but it is a visual obstruction. And if you're walking on the street and you see it, it's a little bit higher up and maybe you'll walk towards it. And it's also, it sounds like there's gonna be signage on the front and the back. So you're gonna have double the exposure, which actually is kind of nice. And to your original point, if the intention was to have them together and almost kind of relating to one another as a couple, I do like the angle looking towards that side of Trimble, but if we're gonna lose it, I wonder if there's a way to bring them a little bit closer, but orient them not necessarily parallel, but slightly shifted. So when you're looking at it, you have a view of what's going on. And so that they relate to each other. It looks like the couple's looking at each other, but also kind of looking at you. You're in a conversation. Just to kind of create like a space. It almost becomes a sub plaza just for the Campbells. And there's something kind of special about that too. I don't know if the signage and the wording is going to change. That's a different discussion. But if we're moving it, it's a new opportunity for a kind of special mini space.
So that was one of the reasons they were put where they are, because when you're standing there, you would be looking down.
A little mini space. Yeah, so maybe it's just an orientation question instead of putting them next to each other. Just kind of make them relate.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It's,
Sure.
Yeah,
they are next to each other, but
I like Alex's idea.
Does anyone have, so we're talking about the location, then whether it's up and down or still the tabletop, and then maybe a slightly new positioning. But does anyone have a problem moving it from the corner to the end of the horseshoe location? Just to kind of take your temperature. If you do, speak up. Okay. So, and then what about, does anyone feel strongly tabletop versus
I guess I wonder, could we be reassured that the content won't change?
so
Because there'll be less space in the vertical.
yeah, this one is just about location and orientation right now. And
Right.
then when they're printed correct, they're gonna come back. But if for some reason they didn't, it would be taxing. So, but they're planning coming back for design and writing.
I've seen in other places, I don't know if we've ever done here sometimes. They'll do a different marker, stand-up marker, and do one on one side and one on the other side, and they'll refer to each other. So we could have one marker and they could say in a nice way, the husband's marker or the wife's marker is on the other side. So we could actually, because two is it's kind of cluttered. Okay. It was intentional, but you could have, maybe one marker actually put better and one side. I don't know. I just think you could.
I think that there's a lot of information. Not make it to the marker. I think that cutting down the information.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do. I'm concerned about the communication, the upside. Yeah, maybe it gives an opportunity to put in a different language inside, but I don't see it as allowing this amount of information. So I'm not.
I think the one thing that we said to Jeff was that we wanted to make sure that the amount of content that's on the sign is the same. That all we would be changing, unless you wanted to explore something else, but to keep things simple, that we were going to stick to the same text, same photos, same captions. But as you know, you've got tabletop and it's horizontal landscape. Is this way. Need to change it. So that's the only thing. It would still be the same size, would have the same content, would still be, it might even be improved with making sure that, it has like ADA visual considerations, that kind of thing. But again, that would come back and you all can adjust it. So, and again, I think we had talked about the idea of maybe only doing one upright since it would be two-sided. But I gotta admit, I like the idea of having two because the county spent money on two. So I wanted to get all of the value out of it. And not only that, if they're two-sided, then we can do something a little bit more extra. with the idea of doing another lane.
I completely agree with that. I think the whole concept of a him and a her, the two of a pair, I think is really powerful, and that sends a different message. So I really would not want to see them on the same one. Because then who would say is the front and who's the back and who's the up and who's the down? And I think that it's really great that there are two. I liked Alex's, idea of orienting them sort of looking at each other and at you. I think that's a neat concept. But I'm a little worried that when you go to vertical, unless you've expanded the size of it, you're going to lose font size or you're going to lose clarity of the photographs because you just have a bigger palette when it's on the tabletop. And maybe not. I mean, maybe they'll make it that much bigger, but I'm a little worried about,
Can it be the same size?
yeah, if it's the same size,
Yeah,
but
that's
vertical.
It's not gonna go small.
So it's just an orientation.
Of our markers. Like that's not the text.
Okay.
We're not doing that kind of conversion. They're gonna have to work with our manufacturer to figure out how to make it work with the current. design.
Okay. Reassured that way, I'm much more comfortable. But initially I thought, this is like a toe under the tent, right? If we approve an upright and a smaller in a different position, the next thing we're going to be asked to do is to approve something that doesn't clutter the upright space they have. So, but that's fine. With that assurance, I think I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, just think like.
Yeah, no toes from our
Yeah,
end.
but it,
Thank you for the demonstration.
To me, the argument that makes the most sense, they need to put more trees in there.
Yeah.
The new ordinance. And so to me, we should be in favor of putting more trees in there.
Yeah.
Where they are now would disrupt the plan to put in more trees and vegetation. So I think that my vote is in favor of moving them. Other than that, we can decide how they look and where they are later, maybe.
Jeff, can I have a quick question? I want to ask a question real quick. How exact does this need to show up on your landscape plan? Is there any chance that maybe we need to say something like within 5 feet of the location on the landscape plan? I'm trying to see how we can give that flexibility if we find we want the location of where the signs are closer or not.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's really a question for Laura Schaub rather than myself. My experience is that you can have a note on a final landscape plan that gives you some flexibility, a plus or minus 2, 3, 4, 5 feet, something like that. But without wanting to put words in her mouth, I'm sure that we can work with Laura to come up with an appropriate note that gives everyone a little bit of flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm hearing people are comfortable with location and the change in orientation. And a lot of people like Alex's idea of maybe them being like this if I was the curve. I don't know how to say that.
I don't think so. So like you're saying to keep them in the current, so like in this spot here and this spot here, but rather than facing each other direct, you want them to cheat out, like they're cheating out towards
Almost like-
Campbell Avenue like this.
It could be opposite way. So
Oh,
like
okay.
hugs you when you're standing.
right.
Oh, okay.
I'd put you on the sidewalk so you can read them from a safe place.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
everybody comfortable with how far apart they are? Because I think that was the other thing that people are saying. And I like what you're saying, Alex, but I think
You want
Closer
to be a little
together.
later.
so that you can see that this is a couple rather than.
Yeah, so they
two
basically
individual people.
reference, but not so that you could read them at the same time. Like, I don't, how far did we say those were?
I think
20 feet.
Looks like 20 feet.
15 feet would be a nice distance, because you could be 7 feet away from each of them. You walk to that and you walk to that. They're distinct but self-referential.
Are they at the same spot as where you come out from the garage? Because I think if people are coming out from the garage, then it does make sense to have them be like this, and you see them as you look at this.
Which garage?
The
They're
one
further south.
between the library and Harris Teeter.
It'd be nice if you could see the street through them, so like there's not, it's not
Right.
whatever that looks like.
Yeah, they kind of frame the street. I think that's nice too, because it's streets and after them as well, so.
Jeff, does that work for you if they have to be a little closer together in that plaza?
I actually quite like the idea that the signs are a little bit closer together. They're a little bit canted in, so you sort of look at one, look at the other, look down the street. That actually feels good. No problem with that.
Okay.
I've done a very scientific, like how large is the table approach with this piece of paper. But if you were to think that this is about 6 feet, so we're 12 feet, so about where Dick is might be about 15 feet away.
Yeah, that seems good.
Not exact. Our measurements, right about there.
Yeah. Is that way you can have people walking both ways unobstructed still,
Gary, does that feel like
from the line to there?
from Dick to?
Yeah, no, I really like the idea of trying to keep the orientation where you can
See them both?
look at them both at the same time, because that was the reason they were placed here.
That would get them closer together.
But are you okay with them? Apart? That's the question to you.
Well, sort of listening to,
Like if Dick were one poster and Lauren were the other, is that far away?
I think that's too far.
I do.
Far, you wanna bring it closer, like?
It's maybe within 10 to 15 feet.
I think it's more like Lauren and John and turned like that.
I
Yeah,
would say
I
within
think-
10.
Enough room for a couple people to
You
walk
want to
between.
see them together.
I think writing a range would probably be appropriate, because otherwise they're gonna have to come back and be like, oh, we have to
Yeah.
move it 9 inches, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm gonna cap 10, but
He said they could put a note, put a range and,
Well, I just,
10 to 15.
if they are too close together, then you are gonna kind of, it's going to obstruct a little bit of the view of Campbell.
Mhm.
So like if you're gonna have them be too close, you're not gonna have that vantage point of the street, just as a thought.
If we're able to say something like within the range of 15 feet, and then if Jeff is able to work with our urban design team about a note on the landscape plan to say within range of 15 feet of each other, then Jeff, when you come back with the design, then we can maybe show exactly how far it's, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference really, I think, too much when you are looking at renderings on computer. But maybe I'll have a measuring tape that night and then we can really get a sense of how far.
Sure.
And some stuff.
Okay. Let me try.
Cause you make that very sense.
Okay. So, I move that the HLRB approve the new location and portrait orientation for the Elizabeth and Edmund Campbell Parker in Shirlington, so long as the sign is the same size as it is currently and has the same text. Further, the HLRB recommends placement of the signs at an angle oriented toward each other within the range of 15 feet.
Could we only change that to
Yeah.
not more than 15 feet apart?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And I'll reread it.
I have another amendment. I think you should say at least the same size, not the same size. I want to give them a little bit of
Yeah, just in case.
flexibility, and maybe you say similar text rather than the same text, or
Well, the text will come,
substantively similar.
the text will come back.
Yeah, the text will come back, so I was just gonna say same, and then they're gonna have to come back to change.
No, But you said the same text. That's
Right, so what's approved now is the same text,
Well,
but then they'll come back and.
well, the text doesn't, it's most, so the motion should largely apply to the location and the orientation.
Yeah.
But not so much the
It
content.
can't be the same because it's going to be
Right.
portrait, so maybe just omit that part.
The text can be the same, but yeah, that was a concern, people had. concern.
maybe you could say substantively the same or something like that.
Just don't mention the text at this.
Yeah,
moment.
I'll take it out if
We'll
people
come
are
back.
comfortable with that, I thought people were concerned that would.
Well, we'll have it, we have it on record.
It's in the
this
record.
Meeting, and it'll be on, that it was part of the discussion.
I
And
think Jeff heard all that.
Spirit of what was expected.
And it'll have to
Text.
come back.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm just saying that the HRB further recommends the placement at an angle, should I say that we're requiring that or just recommend strong?
I mean, maybe we could say with the guidance on orientation that was provided. So that gives
Yeah.
a bit of flexibility.
Okay. Okay, let's try this again. I move that the HLRB approve the new location orientation for the Elizabeth and Edmund Campbell marker in Shirlington, so long as the sign is at least the same size and with the guidance of the HLRB regarding placement at an angle oriented towards each other and not more than 15 feet apart.
Markers should be plural. Sounded like you said.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, please respond yes if you approve the motion. Amari Davis,
Yes.
Ken Dreyer,
Yes.
Robert Dudka.
Yes.
Andrew Fackler,
Yes.
Alex Foster. Yes. Gray Henley,
Yes.
Jerry Laporte,
Yes.
Joan Lawrence,
Yes.
Katie Myers,
Yes.
Mark Turnbull,
Yes.
and Dick Woodruff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everyone. Much appreciated.
That is all that's on our agenda. So at this time, the public testimony is concluded for tonight. On to I have a couple housekeeping items. Congratulations to Mark Turnbull. He was reappointed. He has currently been serving for 14 years. Mark's reappointment was a good example. So our liaison, JD Spain, met with Mark, and that's just something he wants to do from now on as a very active county board member. So, you know, if you're asked by JD to meet before your reappointment, he's just doing that with everybody. So look at it as a way to, you know, you can voice your thoughts to JD. It's active interest in the board. Yeah. And thanks to Joan and Dick and Jerry for their work on reviewing the Barcroft National Register. Was it application?
Yeah, so it was the nomination before it's being voted on the NRH.
For Barcroft, yes. They wrote a letter on behalf of the HLRB, which I signed, and thank you guys. And it was sent to the DHR last month, and it's now under review by the State Review Board. And we'll get an update from staff when we have one. All right. Oh, and I did want to mention, thank you. A couple of people sent me ideas for this discussion topic idea I had. So I didn't really get quick enough to do that tonight, but I definitely want to start that kind of in the new year. We won't tack one on the December meeting with how busy people are, but thank you for sending those ideas. And if you have any more, please send them my way. And I also think it kind of just makes people kind of think more about, you know, what they're interested in doing on this board and that kind of thing. So if you have any thoughts, definitely think about it. And then the last item is we need a nominating committee to elect the leadership for next year for the positions of chair and vice chair. And it can be 2 or 3 commissioners. We have to have at least 2. And so they select the slate, and then we will vote on that at the December 2025 meeting, so the next meeting. And it can be anyone, but Dick, Mark, Gray, Joan, and Jerry have all served recently. So if anyone else wants to volunteer.
And we have to establish it now, so.
Yes.
Any takers? Okay, Amari.
I'll do it.
All right, okay,
And Dick said he would as well if you want 3.
okay.
Well, that was easy.
Great. I will email you all tomorrow.
And that comes to our staff report.
Okay. So we also have some housekeeping reminders. I sent this in the email, and I'm going to be a bit of a broken record on it, but your financial disclosure forms are going to be due in the beginning of January. So this is the form you have to fill out every single year to serve on the HALRB. It will be sent to you in an email from DocuSign. So if you don't receive it, check your spam folder. And if you still can't find it, let me know. We're trying to be more proactive with it and sharing this information earlier on. Won't get the form until January. The county board office is going to email you all in December to send out reminders, give you some tips, but just start pulling together your paperwork that you need to fill it out now. I find it, because some of us on staff have to fill it out as well. I find it really useful to just reference the form you filled out last year. So if you still have copies of that, that's probably the best thing that you could do to fill out the form. So just keep that on your radar. They are due on January 19th. So if you can write that down, that'd be great. Because if you don't fill it out, then you can't participate on the HALRB until you do fill it out. And we want to avoid having that happen. So
The county told you when they're going to send them out.
they said the first week of January,
So we have 2 weeks to fill it out.
pretty much.
Is there any possibility they can send a copy of the one that was filed last year by each of us?
I can ask. I'm not
That's
sure.
what was
but
done
I
in
will-
the federal
I will
government. They should have been able.
Sometimes if you, DocuSign will save documents that you have submitted.
I mean, I can dig it out of the file, but
Yeah.
it would be handy if they just sent it at the same time. And probably pretty easy for them to do.
It's also easy to download it once you ever signed it.
Well, yeah, but then you have to put it somewhere for each.
They do have to do this for all commissions, and there are quite a few commissions in the county. So it might not be a quick and easy, they can pull it for everybody sort of thing. But I will still make the ask and see what they think.
Okay.
Still so much better than like 4 years ago with the fill out by paper.
DocuSign is.
That, I always liked that. That was easy. Just Xerox everything up the last.
I was gonna say, or you could just make
And
everyone.
just sign the last page.
Use whiteout for the date.
Not bad, I missed that.
You can do that.
It must be.
So
Print it.
the next item for staff report is a quick update on Happy Nest. So the LHD designation went forward for its request to advertise to the county board this month. It was approved. So we are able to proceed with the next steps in the process, which means that we will be presenting at the Planning Commission meeting that we're going to present the LHD to them on December 3rd. Lauren is going to be doing that. I will be away. But that meeting is starting at 7 p.m. And we did this for Brennan House. We try to do this for all our LHDs. Lovely if we could have an HALRB member attend the meeting to speak in support of the LHD designation to the Planning Commission. So that meeting is Wednesday, December 3rd. DRC members, you cannot volunteer because you have to be at the DRC meeting that night. But if anybody else is willing to do that, please let me know and I can send the details. If there's any takers right now, great. But if you need to think about it and look at your schedule, you can get back to me. But it'd be really great if we could have someone there to support the project. Okay, and then the last housekeeping item that I have, and then I'll turn it over to John, is December's meeting. We know it's close to the holidays, so if you all can let me know whether or not you're going to attend the meeting, that would be great, just to ensure that we conduct our business. The meeting is on December 17th. So just try to get a sense, if you can, of whether or not you'll be here. Thank you to those of you who have already let me know. I really appreciate it. All right, John.
Thank you. Yeah, so a few updates for this month, specifically in regards to the historic preservation specialist role. First, now that it is November, I've begun the process of the annual inspection photos for the local historic districts. So this is a process that the specialist goes through at the end of every year, where we photograph every local historic district from the public right-of-way or from the surrounding area, depending on the district. I bring this up for two reasons. First, this is just to highlight that the amount of time taken for the weekly and the monthly inspections is going to be a little bit longer for the next couple months. This is a process that, again, we usually start in November and will probably take us through to the end of January. I also bring this up because this is one of the only times a year where I will regularly be out photographing every local historic district, regardless of whether or not there is an active COA. So sometimes there can be public questions about why someone from historic preservation is photographing the property. So this is just an annual procedure that we go through, and we wanted to let you all know that it had begun.
What's the purpose of that?
Well, we do it so that we just have an annual record of each of the properties. So if we were to go and needed to get a sense of exactly what maybe had changed on a property, what was the condition of it was when it got LHD status, it kind of lets us get a comparison each year. And it's also nice to have a nice trove of photographs of all of our LHD. So it just helps out with how we're keeping track of changes over time.
Question. Do you need to get permission from the occupant, from the owners when you go on these properties?
No, so all of,
Or do you, or if you, even if you don't, do you call them ahead of time just to sort of make sure they're in the fold and happy and, you know, as a sort of a public relations thing, do you contact the people?
yeah, good question. So for the second part, we do not contact the property owners beforehand. We don't schedule our inspections, you know, with the COAs or with the ACOAs, and we sort of follow suit with the annual photographs. Now, in regards to entering property, that is not something that is involved here. All the photos are taken from the public right of way. So, you know, in the case of, say, Maywood, I'm not entering anyone's backyard. With, say, some of the garden apartments, I might walk around some of the buildings, but again, all within the public sidewalks.
And just to kind of jump on that, if we did contact all the property owners, it may take a longer time for us to
And when
try
John
to get
started
that
to,
done.
said that would be, make your.
It would
Yeah.
take a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was something that I had learned as I've been understanding all the different roles that we have here in the program is that, again, when John is out there doing inspections, he is never stepping off property. It's always from the public right. Even when he's doing inspections specifically about a COA. Oh, am I wrong? Yeah. Oh, okay. It's okay.
Oh,
It's all right. Okay, take that back.
No.
We step on their property. No, we. Go ahead.
For if it's a certificate, if it is a COA project and it's like, let's say it's a rear addition, you have to go to the
True.
back of the property
Good
to
point.
make sure that it complies. So
Yeah.
for certificate, yes, for COAs and ACOAs, John will enter the property, but for these photographs, it's just from the public right of way.
Yes.
Never gonna act like I know everything. It's okay. Thank you for that.
Now, also related to the specialist role, at last month's meeting, we had a good discussion about, you know, the historic preservation program's outreach. And as it happened this month, we actually had a number of different outreach programs. So just wanted to give you all a heads up of some of the programming that we've been doing. On November 7th, I worked with the Arlington 55+ travel program, where seasonally I have been leading their travel trips to various American Civil War battlefields. On November 7th was our Chancellorsville bus tour. We had about 34 people in attendance. Again, these have been happening seasonally. There's not another one on the books, but if you are a 55+ member, definitely check these programs out because they've been very fun and they've gotten a lot of good feedback from both the 55+ travel planners and from the public who attend. Right after that, on November 12th, I led a presentation at the Cherrydale Civic Association annual meeting about the local historic district process. So this one came to us as a request from the Cherrydale Civic Association, in part because of the success of the Brennan House, which was just approved a few months prior. So this was to, you know, introduce the body to the concept of local historic districts, how they can be beneficial, and how they can begin the process if they are so interested. For upcoming outreach, the next program that we currently have scheduled is again with 55+, although not with their travel program. This is with their lecture series. On January 13th, I will be giving a presentation at the Arlington Mills Community Center about the skirmish at Arlington Mills and the Civil War trail sign that was installed outside the community center back in, I believe, 2017 or thereabouts. Also, for additional outreach and public events that are happening in the month of November, The next dedication for the Stumbling Stones will be held on November 24th. That is a Monday at 8:30 a.m. at Gunston Middle School. If anyone is interested in attending, please let me know. I can forward you the invitation. Lastly, on the topic of outreach, we had our meeting of the Arlington VA 250th Committee on Thursday, November 13th. Both Nan and I were in attendance, although due to a technical error on my end, I did miss the opening few minutes. A couple things were discussed at the meeting. Primarily at the meeting, we discussed what Arlington Historical Society is hoping to be the signature event for 2026, which is referred to as History Fest. This event will be held on May 9th, 2026 at Kenmore Middle School. Various aspects of History Fest were discussed, including program ideas, when Arlington Historical Society will begin developing an event map in conjunction with Kenmore Middle School, and whether or not the May 9th date would be finalized. The consensus was that we should have that one finalized. So May 9th is currently on the books as the date for the signature history events. There was also discussion about how Arlington Historical Society can better apply for a tourism grant, which hopefully can offset some of the costs of marketing 250 events moving forward, and possibly marketing the History Fest event specifically. Nan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Not really. For anyone who's wondering, they're not really planning things on July 4th next year because there's a lot happening down on the mall. So then they're not going to try to compete with that, although they may encourage local neighborhood to do events. But May 9th is going to be the big Arlington event. So, and they'll be looking for volunteers on the day for various things. So, details TBD.
So everything will be at Kenmore.
Yes, they're planning to have some living history groups and some music and a bunch of tables and activities. And I guess we'll have a table, possibly an activity.
Okay. All right, then. You're adjourned.
I think I told you I'll be out of town. So.
I'll make sure to write it down.
I'm gonna put a plug in for my next